here?
Yeah, you can, I'll pull it up.
And I will need it a little bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look good?
yeah, let's do
Good.
it first.
Excellent.
Hello, and thank you. I'm Silvana Cardell. Sorry for the delay. I'm coming from Philadelphia, and it was like more traffic than what I expected. So, did you talk about TERRA, show anything yet?
We were just listening to some of the score,
Oh,
and the
okay.
folks that are online, I gave them a link so they can start reading.
Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about the story, how we started this creation. So it's called TERRA, Bodies and Territories, and it started with a point of view of comparing women's bodies, our territories, and as such, comparing to what happened to women's bodies as degradation of the land too. So that was the main subject. So rooted in ecofeminism, the performance examines the relationship between femme bodies and the land, tracing their shared experience of exploitation, resilience, and reclamation. So through movement, sound, and natural materials, I want to evoke the memories and awaken environmental consciousness. And I'm talking about literally all this. For example, all these clothes are mine. And this is like something, when you create art and you go to the theater or whatever place, you create a lot of trash. You're going to create all these elements that you're going to use them once, twice, maybe a month, and then end up in a landfill. So I started the process of the creation of the piece with a high consciousness about sustainability. So the costumes, the props, the use of the music also was very important in relationship to the topic. And I'll talk more about each element in a second. So in TERRA, I began with the question, what does it mean to live inside a body that is constantly politicized and controlled or dismissed? So I believe that women's bodies and femme bodies, more broadly, are territories marked by histories of violence, resilience, and reclamation. And just like the land, there's also a place of origin, as much as they are a site of extraction, invasion, and resistance. So the creation of the work was tangling or mingling or creating bodies that were like tangled into nature, like the ground, the trees, and a lot of images of violence and a lot of images of domesticity, like houses and dresses, and you'll see then like there's some sculptures of painted nails. These works, every time I start to create a piece, I work with a reference of an artist. So in this case, I work in reference to Ana Mendieta. She's a Cuban artist that she created this series of ritualistic silhouettes on the ground. And TERRA draws from that from that way of working, the body, the land, the connection to the territory. Also, Ana Mendieta is an artist that is in a search from home constantly, so like the body as a home, because she was Cuban. She was sent to the United States as a it was a teenager, like 12, 13 years old, with her sister. So her story is constantly reenacted in this search from the land, the motherland, the place that she was taken. So there's a lot of work of her work is land art. So she's one of the first land artists. In TERRA, the landscape, so this is the performing space, and it took me a while to find it. I went during the summer of 2024. I went to a lot of places until I found a very great place that was a slope and it was in the center, the Schuylkill Center for Environmental Education in Philadelphia, but they didn't let me do it where I wanted to do it. They said it was too dangerous, it was full of ticks. So they offered me this other place. So the place that I wanted, it was more rigged, and it was like more trees, like really one tree after the other. You have to see everything through the trees. They didn't let me, but they offered me this other space, which was rigged, but it was more like a U shape, where as an audience, I was looking for like a frame in the, imagine it's a huge place, how do you frame a performance? So you need to like find somehow, like, you know, container. So this place was acceptable, and I found all these logs that they were like on the ground. So I invited Sarah Kavash, a land artist, to create a sculptures with the found logs. So this log was around here, we moved it with a crane over here, and she painted these nails. We wanted to like feminize the land, make it female somehow. And this was a symbol of that. So hair, dresses, and nails were part of this feminization of the land. So this is another view of the sculpture that is, we thought it was a hand. And then this, like, this is part of the choreography. Here I wanted to portray women as many tasks, like Kali, the Indian goddess, that has all the, for a moment we have it more literal. They were like, in each hand they have like a cup, a rug, like a flower, something, and they were like shifting. And then we decided to like edit all that, and it became this goddess looking creature in the middle of the forest. This thing that is here was also a set, and we used it as a trumpet, as a dress, and as a uterus form. We wanted to like show birth and like female body parts throughout the space. So this is Sarah Kavash painting the nail, that again was done all with materials that were degradable, or, I mean, the sculpture is over there, is rotting, and you can go see it. It's there at the Schuylkill Center. But it will rot eventually. She was like making it, like cleaning and making it really polished. By the end, it was full of mud. It was already like stuff growing into it, like funguses, like big funguses, creating their own sculpture. So these are the trumpet dresses that I meant to create, like the pieces divided in sessions. So the first section is called seeding. The women run into the forest and they wrap themselves with the trees. And then the next thing that happened is like they are tossing seeds on the ground. And the seeds have, like, when you see them in performance, it looks also like dust. So at certain times of the day, especially the performances we did at night, the dust or seeds resemble like the dust that we are and where we will go from. So then the next scene is this scene that I was thinking about restriction of the female body, getting into corsets and uncomfortable clothing. Same with the nails. The nails as a symbol also of imposed beauty and exaggeration of beauty, female beauty, and imposed advertisement almost on the female bodies. So they were very hard to use, and they needed help. They couldn't get in and out of them very easily. There was a whole ritual to dress them. So at a certain moment, so there's this scene of seeding, then the next scene is a birth, then the next scene is a celebration, and after the celebration, they all gather and restrict these two women into these dresses. Sort of a medieval, and we played with like a medieval guitar music at that moment. I'm leaving the music because you have a lot to say about it. So I'll mention our relationship in a minute. So this is the seeding part. So in this moment, we explore pleasure, falling and recovering, and speeding, making it really fast and very slow, and seething and dust as the dancers spread their body on the ground, awaking the fertility of the forest. This is before birth. So the direction for this part, it was like take, fertility of the ground, and then they give birth in the next scene. And there's big hole in the ground, you'll see. So then this is a scene of assault, and it's like crazy, but one of the dates that I was there talking with the director of the center, she was like really upset, and I said, what's wrong? And then she was telling me about all the assaults of women in this forest. And this is a moment as this woman running in this red dress with heels, almost like if she's coming from a party or something, like she's dressed up not to be there, obviously. And then it's this whole scene about her trying to get her way out of the forest. And it starts with a big scream in the moment, in that scene. And this scene, I spent the whole time, my main thought when I was creating this piece, thinking about the land, thinking about the relationship to our bodies to the land. It was thinking about standing on the four mothers. I was thinking about my own origin, standing over my mothers and my grandmothers. Yeah. So this is a scene that, this woman walks literally on people's shoulder. But this repeats throughout the piece in other moments. So this is a moment of the birth. We have this hole on the ground, and this was part of the environment that we created with Sarah. This is Sarah Kavash. This is in the process of making the dresses. And this is another sculpture that there was a big log, and we didn't know what to do with them. And then she said, oh, we're going to stand it up, and we're going to make a heel. So there's a heel and a shoe that comes in another picture, you'll see. So again, talking about sustainability, these are all things we found in the forest. These are all shoes that I took from my daughter because she has the same size than the dancer. I didn't want to buy anything, but it was very hard. I didn't accomplish what I wanted, but half of it, I will say. This dress is mine. I work with this dress in another piece, and in a completely different context. It was a new thing, so that was completely reusable. Same with this, fabrics that I use for other pieces. My own clothing that I brought, like a big suitcase. I chose, things that the dancers could wear. This is Maria Rutia, by the way. She dances here. She teaches here. And then, let me see. Then things of the domestic. With these boards that are like 4 boards, they create a house. And in this case, this is the core group. I have 6 dancers and a little girl. That's Maria's daughter, that at the moment was 7 years old. And they're constantly recreating this home. And again, thinking about women as the first architects, that they were creating the huts where people live, so shelter for their babies. But at the same time, how these homes could become violent. And, thinking about the experience of so many women, that the home becomes a place of shelter and taking care, and at the same time also domestic violence. And in this I have a reference. This is a reference to Ana Mendieta. Ana Mendieta has a whole series of transparent glasses with her body against it, and she did suffer a great deal of domestic violence, so much that she died because of it. She was 35 years old, and her husband, apparently, there's no push her off the balcony of or window of their home. And there was a big thing about it because he was also a famous artist, Carl Andre. So there was half of the art scene believed that he didn't do it, and a lot of female artists of that time were pushing for the theory that she was throwing out of the window. So there is in this house a scene. The music also accompanies this moment with like a big scream with a saxophone, right? Or what is it? Trombone. Yeah, saxophone we wanted. We found a trombone. Yeah, that's how you create work. You know, you want this and this and that, and then you find other things. Sometimes are better than what you're thinking, and sometimes you just settle for them. You say, like, you know, this is what we have. So this is the last scene. I couldn't make the piece about women's bodies in a huge forest having only 6 people. So I added 20 more at the end. So at the end, more women were coming in. I'm going to show a video of that in a minute. So again, fabric, simple things. Everybody dressed the way they wanted in a certain palette that we asked them to have. This was created, this outfit, because we wanted to create this outfit. The custom designer, Vasilieva, is she wanted to have like this sort of European peasants in the forest, so that's the look we went for. And I wanted to have a gaucho look. I'm from Argentina, so I said I want them like dressed like with gaucho clothing, no men's gaucho clothing. So we make it, not to make it so binary, we make a combination of that. So the outfits are sort of, they look like monks at the end of at the end of the day, the combination of the two ideas. So this was hard because she ordered like so much stuff from I don't know where, and there was a big fight between her and I the whole time because I wanted to use all the clothing that will be reused, like we will reuse this somehow, but I wanted to do it with clothing that I collected for 2 years, all kinds of garments from different places, and I wanted that clothes to be altered for this, not to go and buy stuff somewhere. She bought a lot of stuff, but then she sent it back. Yeah, it was like, we have a great collaboration anyway, she was great. But this thing about the sustainability was very important for me, and it was a struggle. So this is another scene with the women. And maybe you should talk about the music, about that. More scenes about the 4 mothers and the shoulders. So this image will repeat in different ways throughout the piece. And the last will be, I'll show you in a minute. This is the audience. The center wanted to bring chairs. They wanted to put like white chairs around. And I said, over my dead body. Because I'm not going to like get myself out of the studio, out of the theater, go 45 minutes away from Philadelphia to present work in white chairs. Like, people have to sit on the ground. But you know, not everybody can. So we put logs. See the logs? So because the place is rigged, you could see from all the logs. Like, they were like this. They were not comfortable. I think it was better to stand up. They were like a piece of log. The ones that they were thrown, like the same like these ones, but they were thicker, and they were all around from like this area. They call it the falling tree. So also the owl area, these trees where the owls have babies. So there was like all the young birds. I don't think they were there when we were there, right? We will have drove them crazy, poor things. But they were, we find all kinds of things. Inside the holes, we will come up, and then there will be a lot of mice one day. Another day, they will like be bunnies. Like, they were like animals all the time. Or a carcass of like somebody eating someone during the night. You know, there was all these things happening. Because this was not in the curated part of the center, it was inside. You have to walk like 15 minutes into it to get into this place. So the audience couldn't arrive like and sit. The audience will meet with us like maybe 2 blocks away from the performance, and we walk all together. So by the entrance, we already have Devin's music playing. And Devin, what we agree in our collaboration was that he will create an amplification of the sounds of the forest. So there is some parts that there's like music, there's transformations and melodies, but very few. We wanted to stay with the amplification of the forest. So two things I wanted to do was to be in a sort of wild place, the wildest I could get. Then the next thing I wanted to do is to be very sustainable. No chairs, no like crazy objects that I had to make. Very simple, a piece of wood. Seating that has to be found over there somewhere, clean so the staff of the center just cleaned these pieces of like these big logs and placed them. That was an easy thing. They had the tools, it was easy to do. And then the other thing was the sound, that I wanted to be amplification of the sound. Maria Ruti introduced me to Devin because meanwhile I was like starting the process of looking for funding. I was looking for a composer, and I told Maria, I want somebody that can amplify the forest. And she said, well, I know this guy that puts sensors on the ground. And he sent me the work sample, and I was blown away. I said, that's the guy. And so there we are.
Is that Brad sitting there, third from the right?
No, I'm not.
Your doppelganger. At least at this resolution.
Brad said he didn't come, so he didn't.
I wanted to.
He already told me so. So this is another view. This is how close the audience was to them. This is the sculpture with the shoe that when I show you the first picture wasn't painted, but it's painted. And this is a small example of this is the same idea that I showed you twice. This is the third time. The construction of the house ends with a mother with a kid sustained by all the other women. So the bodies are the architecture. And again, the standing of the shoulders of the format. That phrase, was like a trigger for me, like creating different moments of the piece. So I'm going to show you the credits because I want to credit all my people before I show you the video. So the choreography and direction is mine. The music was Devin, Arne. The dramaturg is Blanca Siska, land art Sarah Kavash, and they are my top collaborators. So we created all the aspects of the art together. Then the guest performer, is this woman that you saw right here, is German Ingram. Jermaine is 80 years old, and she dances like she's 40. You can tell. But I wanted to have a group of women that range from, she's 79, she'll kill me if I said 80, but she's 79. I wanted to have a group of women from like 7, 6 years old, child, like a small child. Unfortunately, Maria's daughter grew this much every month. So by the time that you see her on top of the picture, that picture, she's really large. She was small when we started. Because I wanted a small child, small enough that could follow my directions and not too big, that you could see a child. She's turning into a teenager at 8. So these are the leading performers: Maria, Mackenzie, Tamar, Megan, Tammy, Chloe, and Cadence. Then the child performer is Adelaine, and then the ensemble performers are this entire group that I selected from the community in Philadelphia, the dance community. We created a HD video, that is the one you're going to see. And then we also created a VR, virtual reality experience, because the forest was not very accessible. The chairs were terrible. And so there's people that might not be able either to walk into the forest or to sit there for like a long time. There's also the possibility that you have allergies and you cannot go to a forest, people with very bad allergy reactions to plants or something. So we created a virtual reality experience. So we filmed like the whole piece, and we separated in 4 scenes. So you could get, with the VR Google sets, you could get into the forest. And that was it's an immersive experience. So you saw the same thing, but surrounding you. And that was created by Michelle and Paola Meninato. And then photography of all these pictures you've seen. Some are mine, the blurry ones are mine. The good ones are Michelle and Laura. Then was presented at the Schuylkill Center, and we received the Pew Center for the Arts and Heritage Grant, for a project grant, and several other little ones, but this is the main funder. So let's watch this piece that we're going to watch. Is the end of this section and the beginning of the section with all the women. So these have sensors on the ground to hear the what they're doing with like these pieces of fabric. They're kind of the idea is to awaken the land, to like if it was sleeping, I don't know. But that was my idea. That like, and also sweeping, creating space, and all these women together. And also the song that we use, that then Devin will explain more, is from a group in Chile that's called Las Tesis. And Las Tesis created a protest song because in Latin America, it was like the year that they created this, and you know, the years, other years too, there was like a number, crazy number, like 3 women were killed every 10 minutes or something. Domestic violence, a lot of them is domestic violence, like boyfriends and husbands. And then a lot was like just random violence against women. So they created this song that is a protest song, and it has a very steady rhythm, very Latin American rhythm that, you know, I'm going to leave it so you explain it more. And I asked Devin to extract the words that is called the violador eres tú. It's like, that's it's called the rapist is you. Like, so they keep saying it's not you, it's not what you were wearing, it's not what you wear, it's not what you were doing, it's them. And then she mentioned the whole government, the police, the government, blah, 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 you know, all the institutions that do not protect women. So we took the words away and we used breath to do it. And then I created a series of like 10 gestures that the women repeat. So let's watch it for a minute. Is there a way to get it bigger? And then the sound?
Should be sound.
I might have this in my slides too. I don't know if this program, the sound was working. I tested it in the other one.
But there's people online watching this without
Yeah.
sound?
I can get the sound. Let's see.
I'm sorry.
No worries. This PowerPoint.
Because I don't think you have this one. You know, I chose this video, so you, well.
Let me,
Okay.
let me do enable content. Hopefully. Of course, it worked during sound check, but yeah.
Do you want to go back?
Yeah.
I mean, I have it in my computer, but then you have to change this whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I know we're close to time. I definitely want to leave some time for questions. There are a few things maybe I could just show before
Yeah.
we wrap up.
Well, maybe I can just say thank you very much, and
Yeah,
then you follow.
sure, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then he will follow with his presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you. Then we have questions.
Yeah. Great. So I know some folks probably have to head out. I know we're at 12:50 right now, but I will just, there's a few key points I want to make. Firstly, just thank you to Silvana to bringing me into this project, and thank you, to Maria Urrutia, is not here today, but who's sort of the connection here. I presented before the sustainability research and practice seminar, and Maria introduced me to Silvana. So just to quickly pick up on this idea of sustainability, this is a really different project. This was fully in the woods, as there was it was probably road access, the closest was about 300 feet. So I would load all of my gear at a truck that I was borrowing, that I could bring all the gear. And this was how I set up the sound system. So we had, as Silvana mentioned, sort of our inputs were these 2 contact microphones. So there's certain scenes where there's not really pre-recorded music. It's just the process sound of movement, the dancer's movement. And then sometimes that's mixed in with pre-recorded sounds of birds and other things that were happening in the environment. I had sort of, it was a 6-speaker setup. I had these tower speakers to give the low end of the presence. And then I had 4 speakers that belong to Westchester that are sort of hemispheric, so not purely omnidirectional. They're not 3-dimensional. They do sort of spit sound out in through 6 speakers. So this sort of created the sound system. The Schuylkill Center has their own power. They have a pretty sizable solar array. So this was essentially a solar-powered setup. It wasn't connected directly to their grid, but I did have these 3 batteries that would be recharged every night at the Schuylkill Center. So we would recharge them. I had 2 assistants that were WCU students that helped me bring out the gear, and then performances. I also had additional students. So it really became a practice and a ritual. That was, and I can quickly kind of show you. Hopefully this video will work. It works. In real time. Spirit speakers. Speaker towers there. Some of the seating. So I'll pause it there, and one sort of like final thing I'd love to say is that going to this space, and you can see some pictures throughout our process of this, and here's some pictures. This is from early on. It became sort of a ritual, and I think that was really important. Is that like going into this space, I started doing my recording in the space. The rehearsals are all in the same space. I think there's something transformative about that, and I'd say to other artists that are interested in bringing nature and ecology into your practice is like if you can do work outside, it's fundamentally different than if you kind of just grab samples and go back to your office or to your studio and work with it. Just like doing the actual work off grid changes what you do. There's some stuff I would have loved to show today, but just don't have for time. So I'm gonna put this up for a second. The first link just has general overview. If you want to be able to hear, the score, watch video examples, you can see them there. The second is if you are a music composer just interested in how I did this, this has more of the sort of like strategies and techniques there. Great. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Great. Any questions?
Yeah, we are a little after 1 o'clock, but if you two can stay,
Yeah.
and the audience can stay, those two who can.
Yeah. Sure.
Sorry, congratulations, it was most interesting, and I'm sorry I have to leave.
But-
usually have time, but it's due this week.
Sure,
Yeah.
understand. Thank you for coming.
Hopefully you can come back and present us with great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
I thought the carrying of plywood never looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
You didn't see what they did with
Yeah.
it, because that's the end.
Yeah.
How long is the performance?
55 minutes, about.
Is it running again, or is it just last year?
I tried, but it's very hard to get booked, all these people. It's like a matter of, I don't know if you know about the situation with the arts in this country. It's getting worse and worse. So the venues don't have funding. This was created with huge funding from the Pew Center and allow us to do all these things that we imagine. So I don't know, I tried to see if it could be done in a university, because there's a lot of campuses have some areas.
natural
area.
Yeah, natural areas like Green Mar. I talked to, they were interested, but they couldn't this year, and this is very hard because this year they can. Next year I have half of the dancers. I have this. It's like you have to have it done and then move on into new venues.
So,
Which there's this VR that is going to. I sent it to the Venezia Biennale. That's kind of my targets. I like to get that piece there. I am trying to see if I can get the piece in the VR form, because it's a new form and it's easy to set up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say the work is definitely, if not site specific, site responsive. So if we did present it again, it would be different.
Yeah. It will be different, but the choreography will be almost the same.
Mhm.
There's a structure now, and now I don't need to spend 3 months or 4 months with the dancers investigating what they can do.
Mhm.
I know it, I can teach it.
Yeah.
But this was created from scratch. And it was from scratch because we were in a very strange situation. We should have a floor that is simple, you can move their feet. These they keep changing their sneakers because the sneakers were getting them blisters, or they will step on stones and the same stone will be there the next time. It will be another thing, like a log, and so on. So they had to adapt to all these things, and the choreography has to adapt to all that.
Yeah.
Some of the choreography I saw, parts that I wanted 3 times faster. And it's not possible. They cannot do it because their floor is like this. And then I was saying, you gotta move faster. So I went and I did it, and it was dying. Okay, do it the way you can.
Yeah. Great.
So here's a question coming from a different angle. So your name, Silvana,
Mhm.
and the meaning of the name Silvana.
I know.
Has that inspired you?
I always, when I was a kid, I know the Silvana means forest. So I'm always fascinated with forests. And I was born in Buenos Aires, so there's no forest there. It's very plain. But I was always attracted to Patagonia and the forest. And when I came here, it's a similar landscape. Certain places in Pennsylvania. So I think I got hooked into Pennsylvania because of the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you talked about finding a new space. Is that what you want to do with this project? Is perform it in other spaces, or you just want to have the VR or come up with something?
I would like my projects my pleasure is to make them. To repeat them is great, but it's not my main goal. I am into something else already. And my focus is social justice. So I'm constantly moving into what's the next problem. This is a big problem. My first big performance was about immigration, and this was 10 years ago when there was a lot of issues because of the crossing of the Mexican border, and then it went into like what's happening in Europe, with the Syrians, refugees, and all that. And I thought that over 10 years it will get better, it got worse. So, now I'm making a solo about memory and about, Argentina and authoritarian regimes, and what's happening here with the authoritarianism rising, and what's happening to immigrants, and this kind of adversity towards the foreign. I was coming now listening to a program in NPR, and they was like talking, there was like a court hearing about now they want to change who gets to be a citizen by birth. So before it was everybody who was born here, they're citizens. Now they're trying to figure it out, like if you are a temporary person living here and have a baby, the baby is not American. So then there were this whole discussions about this, these big territories that could hold a lot of people, and a lot of people working. This is a different reason. So my next project is about that. But I mean, I love to continue this project too. I have room to do both.
Yeah, that whole thing makes no ethical or even economic sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would imagine dancers in a company like this would have strong positive memories of every performance they do, but I would also think that this would just be so different and so emotional in a way.
There was a lot of crying in the audience and in the performers. Maria's daughter, when we finished, she cried so hard. We couldn't she was like shaking and crying because she knew that this was never going to be the same for her, including because of her age, and the body changing and all that. So yeah, there was a lot of people that were very emotional about it because it was ritual. You walk into the place, and there was the sounds of birds. There was nothing. There was no dancers, just a setup. And I think that was getting people really already immersed into the experience.
Yeah, definitely one of the most unique projects that I've worked on, and you are not working with a blank slate. You are working with a forest environment that sounds different, that looks different every day, and that's something really beautiful about that. And imagining work that doesn't take over, but that just contributes to that. That's part of that ecosystem. I think was really powerful.
And without him, I don't know where I will have done because he really amplified. I have this crazy idea. I want to amplify the forest. Of course, I don't know how. So how I'm going to amplify the forest? I always have to find someone that can do it. So he did it. It was like, people didn't know if the sounds were real birds or not, And also they were sometimes other birds that were coming and making a lot of noise in the middle of the show.
For sure.
That's a question that I had about the ambient sound in the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, it was crazy.
And what you brought into it and how they related to each other.
Yeah.
I was listening to that wood thrush, and it was recognizably a wood thrush, but you did something to it.
Yeah, I sometimes I would play it back just as is, as I recorded it. Sometimes I would reverse it. Sometimes I'd move it down an octave, or reverse it and move it down the octave. So it became sort of this compositional material, just like you would compose with, a piano melody, and you transform it, right? But I said, well, let me take what I record in this space, rather than just literally playing it back, which is maybe you have a good day and you have a lot of sound. Maybe it's a rainy day and there's no birds, right? So trying to think about that. The dimension of time as a variable that I'm playing with, so there are those things, real time things happening, and then this sort of layered under, yeah.
Yeah, we gotta wrap up. They gotta change the room.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.